Have you ever heard the story of angels who rebelled before Lucifer? What if I told you that the first rebellion in heaven was not led by the morning star, but by a host whose names have been lost to time, sealed in mystery? What if there were secrets buried in Scripture, clues to an uprising before Satan ever fell? This is not the story you've been told in Sunday school. Drop a key in the comments if you're ready to unlock a hidden chapter of heaven's history. Before the creation of man, before Eden's rivers flowed, before the serpent ever whispered in the garden, there was only glory. The heavens were filled with songs of praise. The angelic choirs lifted their voices like thunder rolling across the eternal skies. Brilliance shimmered on every wing. Holiness radiated like fire from the throne. But not all was still. Not all was calm. Somewhere in the shadows of eternity, whispers began to stir. Whispers not of worship, but of defiance. The sound of wings in unison gave way to division. Eyes once fixed on God's throne began to look elsewhere, searching, yearning. And in that yearning, rebellion was born. But here's the question. Who are they? And why does Scripture remain silent about their names? We know the story of Lucifer. We know how pride filled his heart. We know the dragon swept a third of the stars from heaven. But is it possible that another rebellion came before his? Why do ancient texts hint at angelic beings cast into chains before the serpent's fall? Why does Jude speak of angels who left their first estate, but does not call them demons? Why does Peter mention angels cast into Tartarus, while John, in Revelation, reserves Satan's fall for the end of time? Could there be two rebellions? One hidden, one forgotten, one erased from memory, but etched into Scripture like faint fingerprints left behind. Listen carefully. Jude 1 verse 6 says, "And the angels which kept not their first estate, but left their own habitation, he hath reserved in everlasting chains under darkness unto the judgment of the great day." Notice, this is not the serpent's story. This is not Lucifer's fall. This is something else. 2 Peter 2 verse 4 adds, "For God spared not the angels that sinned, but cast them down to hell Tartarus, and delivered them into chains of darkness, to be reserved unto judgment." These angels are in prison, bound, chained, but Satan, he still roams free, like a roaring lion seeking whom he may devour. 1 Peter 5 verse 8. So who are these chained ones? What sin did they commit that even Lucifer's pride did not? The early Jewish writings, like the book of Enoch, give us glimpses. They speak of the Watchers, angels who descended to earth, who broke their boundaries, who saw forbidden knowledge in union with mankind. Genesis 6 verse 2 whispers of them. "The sons of God saw the daughters of men that they were fair, and they took them wives of all which they chose." Here lies the fracture point of heaven, a rebellion born not in heaven's courts, but on earth's soil, and it predates the serpent's whisper. Picture the scene: the Watchers gazing down from the heavens, eyes burning with desire not for God, but for flesh. They abandoned their posts. They left their estate. They crossed a line no angel was ever meant to cross. Can you feel their struggle? Can you hear the battle inside their hearts? Duty or desire, obedience or rebellion. And in a single choice, they fell. They taught forbidden knowledge. They revealed secrets of heaven to mortal men. Weapons, sorcery, enchantments. The earth became corrupted. The Nephilim were born, giants, warriors, a terror to all flesh. And God was grieved. Genesis 6 verse 5 says, "And God saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every imagination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually." The flood was not only judgment on man, it was judgment on those angels, chained, imprisoned, never again to walk free. And now, the revelation. Lucifer's fall was not the first rebellion. It was the most famous. but not the first. Before the serpent ever tempted Eve, before pride ever filled the morning star, there was another fall. The angels who rebelled not in heaven, but on earth. The watchers, the chained ones. Their punishment was swifter, their judgment harsher. Why? Because Lucifer's rebellion was pride, but theirs was corruption. They polluted the very bloodline of humanity. They sought to destroy the plan of salvation before the Messiah could ever come. And God intervened with a flood that swept away flesh and chains that bound spirits. Even now, Revelation 9 hints that in the last days, these imprisoned ones may be released for a time, loose from the abyss to torment the earth. What was hidden will rise again. But what does this mean for us today? It means rebellion doesn't always look like Lucifer. It doesn't always start with pride. Sometimes rebellion begins in small compromises, with desires we let grow unchecked, with boundaries we willingly cross. The Watchers teach us that some doors should never be opened, some knowledge should never be pursued, some desires should never be entertained, because rebellion rarely announces itself. It begins as curiosity, then compromise, then chains. What about you? What forbidden ground tempts your heart today? What secret desires pull you away from your first estate? Your calling, your purpose, your holiness. The lesson of the Watchers is this: God is patient, but his judgment is sure. Yet there is hope. Where angels fell, Christ stood. Where men drowned, Noah found grace. Where chains held spirits, the cross broke sin's power. You don't have to fall. You don't have to be chained. You can stand. The question is, will you? If this hidden truth opened your eyes, type "stand" in the comments.